Well, first thing I want to say is, how are you? How are you? It's so great to be with you. How are you? How are you today? Let me see how you feeling. First, first I want to say thank you to Holly, to Adrian, to all of you, to the MBL, to the Brunswick County for having me here, Frida, for the Innovate Her Summit. It's an honor, and I'm still amazed when people ask me to come talk. So first of all, as you know, I'm Joye B, founder and CEO of JOYEBELLS, home of that southern backwoods country deliciousness, honey. Okay. And as she shared, there are recipes that have been passed down 6 generations. My family and I are the first generation to turn that into those traditions into a business. Currently retailing in 2,100 stores nationwide. Thank you. And on QVC. And our business model is business to business. So we manufacture desserts and countrysides for wholesale trade. And that's just for my entrepreneurials, in the room. And I'm so excited, that our family is still here. Okay, so I've been asked to come share my story and how I got to my mantra, no matter what things look like or how they feel, keep moving. All right. So I feel like I have to go back and tell some of my backstory, right? So that you can understand that no matter, I'm going through a growing pains company storm right now. And to anyone else says, girl, that's an opportunity. And it is, but it's still my current storm that I'm standing in to figure out, right? And I'm walking like this, right? Currently, right? And I'm telling myself, don't look down. Keep moving, right? Right. So I'm not telling you my backstory so that you can think I'm sitting on peaches and cream. Now, I'm telling you my backstory so that you can know at the top of one mountain is the beginning of the next. Right? Okay, so I'm a thriving survivor of an untreated mentally ill mother, right? With what we now know today as schizophrenia, right? But back then, first of all, you wasn't talking about it, right? Because we were trapped in that mindset that meant something was wrong with us as the parents, or, when that has nothing to do with how great your family is, right? Or how well of a parent you've done your job, those types of things. So it wasn't discussed. And so we were left without resources, any type of information. And then my mother had bipolar and violent tendencies on top of that, right? Now, don't get me wrong. My mother loved us. Even in the midst of all of that, I can still see and know that my mother loved me. You wouldn't catch me outside without my hair combed, face clean, moisturized, all of those things, right? But they didn't know what's behind the door. She was having raging episodes. So she married 3 times. And so one of those stepfathers sexually molested me and my sister. And it went on for years. Told my mom, she chose not to believe us, even though I know she knew, right? That's neither here nor there. But that's part of my makeup. And so it got so bad that I ran away from home at age 14. I lived in abandoned houses. I ate out of dumpsters, and if we keep it at 100, looted out the stores for food, anything I had to do, right, to survive. So I only got two good meals a day. That was, breakfast and lunch at school. And then once I got out of school, I went to the YMCA in South. I grew up on the sunny side of South Dallas. And so I went to the YMCA after school where I got, a snack. You got they used to have the little milk carton, with the little sandwich, all of that kind of stuff, a bag of chips. I was thankful. And there was one lady there, Miss Tina, and for all of my Caucasian sisters in the room, right? it was my first real interaction with someone who didn't look like me. Okay, I want to put that out there. And every day, Miss Tina asked me, Joy, have you done your homework? The first time I said yes, she said, let me see it. All right. So every day after that, I learned my lesson. Every day I knew I had to bring and either have my homework done, have it with me, or Miss Tina wasn't going to let me participate in the activities, which meant I might miss out on some food. That was important to me at the time. More important than school, any of those things. But thanks to Miss Tina and all of the staff, for caring about the students and the programs that were in place, I was afforded the opportunity to graduate on time despite being homeless, and so I'm super grateful for that. And then when I went to school every day, they didn't have running water, in the abandoned or closed houses. But now, I don't know about anybody else, but I know, like, from my lifetime of seeing one of my stepfathers, and robbing Peter to pay Paul, and the lights go off. Back then, you could go outside, pull that little metal top up, take your wrench, and you got running water. So that's what I did. I had a little wrench that I had in my little pack, that I carried around with, move from space to space. And so I go out, turn the water on, and, fill up my bucket, bring it back. And I'd use that water in the house to, to try to wash or clean clothes. And I wasn't always able to steal laundry detergent and things like that, right? So when I went to school, my clothes were not the best. I smelled, didn't have some of the things that, you use to keep yourself fresh. So I was constantly bullied, made to feel less than, and all of those things. And it took me many, 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 many years to learn my own value, appreciate myself. I'm not less than, and just because doesn't mean, all of those things. It took me many, many years to reach. But I just kept pushing, went to school every day, graduated on time with a 3.79 GPA. I will never forget, because Miss Tina made it important to me, so I will never forget, right? And went on with my life. I met my husband when I was 19. We got married. I have 3 children. He had 2 previous, so I have 5 children, and I have 3 grandchildren. And we've been married now 39 years. And so I just, thank you. I know that ain't no easy feat, child, let me tell you. Woo! But, so I went on and I was blessed enough to live a fairly normal life from that point forward. But there was always a part of me that wanted to create this. I mean, even when I was little, and when I first ran away from home, I remember breaking out in the middle of the night. My stepdad had just molested me earlier that night, and I had that's it. I'm done, no more. And so I remember packing up this little bag I had. I remember breaking out the house. It was after midnight. Breaking out the house, making my way up the street, and as I broke out the door, I heard, his, back then, you could hear footsteps when they hit down, on the wood. And so I heard that, and I'm like, oh my God, he's coming, right? And then I heard my mama screaming my name, and they're all, she's trying to run away. So I remember running up the street. I heard we had this great big old Cadillac that just, you could hear it everywhere, right? And so I heard it, and I heard it coming. I ducked. I remember diving in the bushes and all of those things, right? And so when I met my husband, even though at the time I didn't realize I had met someone who was super duper old school, expected his woman to behave a certain way, he was just old school is just the best word I can put on it. And so he had his own set of expectations, right? So in the midst of living my fairly normal life from that point on with my husband, I still had to fight, ladies, to figure out who I am, right? Without compromising, and at the same time without undermining him, right? And then I got to a point that I realized that was not my responsibility. I don't know how I got here. Okay. Was not my responsibility, right? And then when I began to stand, and he could see that I was still his wife, I was still a mother, even though my kids was grown. Still a grandmother, right? Still by his side. But he had to let me fly. He had to let me go, right? And he had to trust that my flight was not an abandonment of him. And so for whoever this is for, because I don't even know where this came from, right? So whoever this is for, I'm telling you that you can do it, still keep your man, and have your business, okay? You just got to figure out, because only you know him best, is to figure out the way that he knows that your growth does not diminish who he is in your life. All right? I don't know where that came from. Anyway, so while I was living my regular old life, right, I still felt the need to create, so I recorded an inspirational album, Project Butterfly, spread your wings and fly, no more tears to cry, a Project Butterfly. Anyway, so that was the inspirational album. I just felt it that much, right, so I had to let it out. And so I recorded the album, didn't do nothing. We'll get back to that later, right? Because I thought I was going to be a star. You couldn't tell me I wasn't going to be no gospel star, okay? That didn't happen. We'll get back to that. So then I recorded, but in the midst of that, I learned a whole lot. We'll get back to that. And then I wrote my personal memoir, Hopefully Beautiful, partly to release myself. You know, it couldn't live up here rent-free no more. And the best way for me was to write it down. And so I was writing little things down. And next thing I know, I had all of these sheets of this stuff that I'm like, and my husband said, well, you might as well just put it in a book and just be done with it. I'm like, hey, that's how he is. He's a forceful talker. It's okay. And I said, okay. And so I did it. Didn't nothing happen with it. We'll come back to that later. Right? And so I landed this nonprofit job, right? Super excited because it supports children in the out of school time space and gives them quality learning opportunities, and meals are paid for. That was important to me, that the kids didn't have to pay for meals and they didn't have to figure out how to get there or get home, and which same as their parents not having to worry about it. So that was important to me. So being a part of that made me feel like I was giving back to other little Joye Bells. My nickname, by the way, Joye Bell. It's like me. My family nickname is Joye Bell. Started off because my head was extremely larger than the rest of my body for about 12 years, right? So they called me Bell Head. By the time I got to be 12, I'm like, we can't, this just cannot go on. Grandma, mommy, somebody. And then it changed over to Joye Bell. So my auntie said, you're a joy to the world. We're going to stick an E on it. We're going to call you Joye Bell. Thank you. I just thought I'd throw that in there. So again, I did all of those things, released those things, got into the nonprofit, and I really got comfortable. I was comfortable there because, one, I felt like I was making a difference. I got to work some social media from time to time because, that was my thing from releasing the music, right? And I lived on social media with the music. And in the end of 2017, my spirit said, be still. Be still. Get your hind parts. I almost said so. Get your hind parts off of social media. This was Facebook in time back. That's when Facebook was, you get Facebook. If I did this, it was on Facebook. If I did that, it was on Facebook. Right? I lived on it. And while I thought I was promoting my music and my book, it didn't do a thing. I was just living on Facebook. And something told my spirit, be still, towards the end of 2017. I couldn't post, didn't have anything to talk about, even if I tried, and really didn't even have the desire. And during that same time, I started writing out Joye Bells, the Joye Bells plan, my pie business plan. Don't know why. I mean, God, of course. I personally, earthly, didn't know why. I just did it. And I worked on it for like 7 to 9 months. Just getting a little bit here, finding out the knowledge, what you got to have to start just all of them. And so I had, and by the end of 2018, I had put together a whole plan. My plan, though, wasn't to launch that until like 2028. I'm like, I'll be close to retirement, you know. Well, not that close, but, you know, it'd be closer to retirement, you know. And I saw myself as a little old lady. Not that I know what a little old lady looks like, but a little old lady in the store, in my own shop, selling my pies. That's what I call myself writing a plan out for. God is my witness. I finished writing that plan on a Sunday. The following Friday, May 31st, I was released from my job. That nonprofit that I worked for restructured, and my position was eliminated. Right? I remember sitting in that daggum, she talking to me in the office. I remember crying. And then all of a sudden, my tears, something said, what? And all of a sudden, my back went straight, right? I stopped crying, still had the wet face and everything, but I stopped crying. And then she's talking to me, right? My boss, a former boss, is talking to me. And she's trying to let me down easy, you know, because she was a great boss. I believe she loved me as an employee, you know, all of those things. So she's doing her best to soften the blow that she got to let me go because she got to restructure so they can grow. Right? So by the time I said, wait a minute, I felt the smack, my back straightened up. And she's talking, and all I hear is wah, 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 wah. And in my head, I am already planning. I'm inside that spreadsheet that I had just finished that had the 4 quarters with the whole breakout of what I needed to do to launch. So she's one, and I'm in the mind. I'm like, okay, so now I got to reach out to VDAX, which is the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. That's who monitors your food businesses, you know, when you sell to consumers outside of your house. Right? And I'm like, okay, now I need to get all that started, right? And she was like, do you need to go home? I said, yes, I do. I need to go home and tell my husband what just happened to me, right? And so then she called me later that evening and she said, I let you go. She said, but I want to know if you'd be willing to stay on through the month of June and train the new people that was coming to take my spot. Finish a campaign that I had brought in the door, right? To finish that, make sure the monies came in the door for that, because that was development. I'm so thankful to that job. I learned everything from walked in the door as an assistant, walked out operations development. So she's like, would you be willing to stay? She says, don't answer now. She says, think about it and let me know before Monday. I said, okay. I thought about it, and I'm like, this organization, this nonprofit matters to me, right? I was the very first employee, part of the strategy build, all of the things that serve all of these RPS middle schoolers right now, right? So I said, of course, called her back, of course I'll stay. Make sure the money got in. Made sure that all of the things were wrapped in neat bows so that the person could come in and easily find everything, because my mind is another place to live. I can go find it, but you might not can't. So I made sure everything was accessible and stayed through the end of June, hit the ground running July 1st, launched October 1st at the here at the Dairy Bar. I don't know if anyone remembers the Dairy Bar in Scott's Addition, but they've since closed since COVID, right? But I worked right across the street from them, and so I would go and I said, "Oh, today's my last day." What? I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you too. What you gonna do? I'm gonna sell pies. What? Yes, right? And so he said, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. He said, well, come on, bring them over here. He said, I'll take some little 3-inch tarts of your pies, and we'll see how it do. Brought him in. I came back in. He said, Bobby U Crops said, that's a winner. I don't know if anybody else knows who that is, but that's from the U Crops food. They know food, right? And he said, Bobby U Crops came in and had some of your pie. He said, that's going to work. I was like, excited. And long story short, what I learned, ladies, for any of my food folk in here, is that I went from that excitement and ran around Richmond. I ran around Richmond, and I got into as many restaurants as I could. But what I found, it is not a consumer demand route. It's what the restaurant owner's budget and what he wants to do route, or she wants to do route, right? So just when you're thinking about strategy, starting your business, your food business, I can only talk on food business. Think about where you start. Folks tell you to go start at the market. The market is where you're supposed to go. And I'm like, I am in menopause. I am not getting ready to go stand outside in the heat, to sell some pies, right? And nobody wouldn't want to eat it anyway because I'm like drenched, So I'm like, okay, that's not the route. I don't see that as the route for me, right? And then COVID hit, right? Because we launched just as COVID hit, right? Now, the folks say, girl, oh, y'all in trouble. Y'all about to die. Ain't nobody living, businesses living through this COVID thing. And you ain't going to be able to make no money. You just barely making. I made $8,000 in 2019. We sold $8,000 worth of pies, right? And so how that supported inventory, packaging, gas, all of the things, only God knows that. And that's real talk. Right? Because our monthly burn rate, which is the amount of cash and expenses you roll through each month, did not match what was sitting in the bank. All right? So that's why I say no matter what things look like, you keep moving. And then God meets up and provides bridges and lifts up, and you just thought that's solid ground. Okay? So that's what I'm saying when I say that. And so then we found out COVID hit, and you got the words essential, non-essential, right? Restaurants were non-essential. It got shut down. And that's when somebody said, hey, you should try your product over at the market at 25th Street. They've been out a year. They're supporting, right? And so I called, couldn't get through, couldn't get nobody to get permission to come bring the food up. So what did I do? Packed up my basket. Walked into the store, walked over to customer service, sat it down on the thing. She said, oh, what's this for? I said, this is for you and your staff. Right? Child, I got a call 2 days later. And the buyer said, this is all my staff is talking about. Because they took it, they put it in the break room. I mean, I took whole pies, mini pies, slices. I took it so they could, hey, get you some. That's my brand. My brand mama, get you some, right? And she called me 2 days later. That was all the staff was talking about. And she was like, oh, this is awesome, but I'm going to need you to come in and demo. That's when I learned about demoing. And I cut my teeth at the market at 25th Street. Right? And so the very first day, right, that I'm demoing, and I'm sweating profusely, and I'm setting up my stuff because I was running late. And so I'm rushing, setting up my thing, and I had pop-ups and, all of the things that made me look legitimate, right? And I'm sweating. And then this guy right here, Brian Robinson, walks up to me in the middle of sweating and setting up the stuff, and he's, hi, I'm Brian Robinson, and I would love to work with you. What are you doing? And I looked at him, and I'm sweating. I said, I cannot talk to you right now. Said, I'm late. I need to get this set up. I said, but if you leave your information, I can talk to you, at another time. And so I'm still rushing, and I'm behind, and I keep looking up. He's standing over there at the produce section like this. I said, he is waiting for me to finish setting up. He did not hear what I said to him. But long story short, at the same time, it let me know that for whatever reason, God said he here to help you, and you better behave accordingly and put that attitude in your pocket just because you late and you sweating, right? Long story short, he introduced me to the MBL. And from MBL to Bridgeton, Virginia, they were shooting out them daggum. Everybody y'all should be MBL members in here. And if you ain't, E.F. Hutton said. You need to check that out, all right? And he's like, I want to introduce you to Floyd, the MBL, this, that, and the other. And I'm telling you this because it's important. And I'm not saying all folks that look like me, but at least folks that look like me in my age demographic were taught you don't ask for help. Am I lying? And if you asking for help, you weak. Right? So that was my mindset going into starting this business. Becoming a part of the MBL taught me that I have to ask for help. You can't get nothing if you don't ask. All anybody can tell you is yes or no. And I swear you ain't gonna die from a no. All it's gonna do is teach you how to go, oh, whoa, well, let me show you. That's how I am anyway. Oh, you say I can't do it? Oh, you know. And so, and just from there, from all of those connections, I learned how to ask for help. I learned how to receive, because you can ask, but if you can't receive it, right? And if you learning on the grow, you really don't know. I didn't know. I still got a whole lot to learn, right? And so, but I received it and I put it to work. If they gave me something to work with, I was on it. Right? And then they started sending out those daggum newsletters with the grants every day. Did anybody remember that? Every day. Girl, I was there sitting in front of you. Ought to be about time for that newsletter to come through here with what's today's grants available. And I say all of that to say that 2020 was the year of COVID, right? There was no growth happening with anybody's businesses in 2020. You were either sustaining or you were falling, right? And I raised $67,000 that year in grants, thanks to having the knowledge of those resources being available. So we didn't have like big money when we started. I hadn't saved, I hadn't planned. So we got through 19, we raised grants on 20. Then one of the MBLs, Floyd, introduced us to another organization that we worked with to get money for inventory to be able to supply our very first Q4, because we didn't know what that looked like. And I just want to say that hard work all the way up to now, thanks to the RVA area and beyond, but RVA first, right? Because, you know, they say nobody supports you in your hometown. That's not true. RVA was the first, quick and in a hurry to support. God is good, because it's not like I did anything different than any other business out there that's working hard to push their product. And we just work, and here we are today. And I'm grateful. I want to say before I leave that the main thing is that we all have value. Oh, and all my entrepreneurs, whether you local, regional, national, striving for any of those things, do not just be happy to be in the room. I know I ain't heard nobody in here say it, but I bet you said it before, depending on what was going on. Oh, I'm just happy to be here. Girl, I'm just happy to be in the room. Just being happy to be in the room is predicated on you being happy to stay in your place, in that lane, when you enter in that room, that you just happy to be in that space. Okay, that's what I learned, because I was just happy to be in the room. When I got the call from Sam's Club, you know, we talking, right? And he's like, we want to put you in all the stores. I'm like, and I'm thinking, well, we in the Food Line Local Goodness Program now. We, just the three of us, is producing 900 pies a week. We in the kitchen 7 days a week from like 6 in the morning to like midnight. Are you really going to be able to work with Sam's? Sir, I'm so sorry. We just can't. We not without some type of support. Well, I'll walk you into my manufacturer. Probably walked us right on in there. Total blessing, right? Oh, yes. But I was just happy to be in the room. I didn't question or push what the cost of goods was going to be, right? I didn't push or negotiate any of those terms, because I was just happy to be in the room. Well, we'll figure it out. Do not be just happy to be in the room. Know your value. Value it now. And if that door don't kick open, it's coming. You don't have to walk through it right then. Like, I didn't have to walk in through the Sam's Club door right then. I could have waited another year, but that ain't my style. I just be moving. I can't help myself, right? Don't be happy to just be in the room. We are all valuable, right? You matter. I matter. All of the things that you have learned in your life, like a lot of us have done things and nothing happened with it. And so you got that little people and the voices around you just love to point out, oh, that didn't work. You always doing stuff that don't never work out for you. You know who those people are, who those spirits are, right? Right? So I'm telling you, they have no power. You value now. Whatever it is you're getting ready to do in your next steps of your journey, they matter and they have value right now. Everything that you've done your whole life has been preparing you for this moment in your life, right? A lot of us, like I said, it's like a tree with a base, right? And you got your roots and stuff all down here. And I'll use myself as an example. I wrote a book, didn't do nothing. Woo, you just wasted 2 whole years of your life for nothing. Released them inspirational albums. Didn't do nothing. Didn't bust nobody's chart. Not even the local chart. Okay, and 30-something years in admin and finance and all that stuff. It seemed like that's a waste of time, but it's not. All of the things that you did and started, they all have these living ends to them, right? And they're just waiting for what it is that you're supposed to do next. What's supposed to come and overlap on top of those, right? And then they all feed and bloom out together. My book that wasn't supposed to do nothing is used for Be Well Virginia's mental health campaigns now. My inspirational album, it still didn't do nothing, but I learned production. I learned how to create my own social content, recorded and wrote my own theme song for the music, Joye Bells, all of those things. So all I'm saying to you is that you're powerful. You about to walk up out of here today and begin the rest of your life, right? And I want you to know that no matter what things look like or how they feel, you keep moving and it will all come together and intersect and make sense to you. Don't worry about whether or not it makes total sense now. Don't worry about what nobody else thinks. You keep moving.